Kazakh-Dzungarian battle. Modern border of Kazakhstan and China. Son, listen to me. Our enemies are coming from the east. It is my duty to protect our lands. Remember, protecting your land and people is your duty too. Save these seeds for the future generations. They should never forget about us. Period of Dekulakization. Krasnodar region, territory of modern Russia. Hey look, these are wheat seeds. My father gave them to me. Your grandfather. Because of these seeds, we always have a bread in our house. Promise me that you will keep them safe.
Sань, Лёш!
Yeah, we're coming. Hurry up! Go home, go, go, go! Good afternoon. According to the resolution of the Supreme Council of the Union of Socialist Republics, you must vacate all your possessions and will be sent into exile on the territory of the Kazakh SSR. Where? Where are we going? I gave you everything. Cattle, grain, flour. But why the land? You have an hour to get ready.
Darling, please, let's go.
Lubanka, I'm not going anywhere, you hear me? I'm not going anywhere! I'm not... I repeat, this is an order! I'm not going anywhere!
Лёша, no!
Promise me that you will save them. The Great Hunger, the modern territory of the northern Kazakhstan. Darling, in this difficult time, please remember, they can take away our bread, our lives, but they will never take away our hope. Most importantly, conserve the seeds and pass on to the next generation. This is my legacy to you. Don't let them see the grief we have seen.
What is it? This is the chance our ancestors gave us, so we can build a bright future for you.
In 2016, I was 26 years old, and my son was born. At that moment, I began to think not only about my future, but also about the future of my son. So it happened that during this period, land rallies began. And I, like millions of my compatriots, wanted to protect our lands. And what could a 26-year-old guy do during this period? Absolutely nothing. Realizing that I can do nothing about it, I remembered about my grandfather, who 150 years ago, together with Abay Kunanbay's father, wanted to bring to life a big idea, to instill settledness in the Kazakh people and develop agriculture. But unfortunately, they did not manage to bring it to life. Then I began to form my idea to continue the mission of the ancestors, and after 4 years of research, when I turned 30, I knew exactly what to do. And these were not pipes and not oil. It was much more serious, but these needed seeds and a strong team.
And we found them in Canada.
But there was one small issue. For the last 30 years, Canada did not sell its advanced seeds to anyone. Over 2 years, we were looking to buy seeds. We were writing letters and were calling, but nothing worked.
We were very upset because the seeds are the main component of the success of our project. For 3 months, I had been working at night and had been calling them, but I could not reach an agreement with anybody.
Then a pandemic started, and Am and I came up with a brilliant idea. The TRIPS agreement is in force, which states that during an emergency and a pandemic, patented rights are nullified, and you can legally take anything out of the country. So we started to act.
We planned to fly to Canada and the United States for negotiations and purchases, but because of the pandemic, everyone was denied getting a visa. Only Murat had a visa, and he was compelled to fly alone.
While Murat was in Canada, the whole team began to leave according to Canadian time. We constantly kept in touch with him. Difficulties arose almost immediately. I started looking for our fellow countrymen who live there and can help at least with something. I even posted the stories. I saw a story on Instagram and wrote to Ayan, "Are you in Canada? How can I help you?" Ayan told me about their needs and told me that there are difficulties. I wanted to help, but at that moment, I did not even know what. The next day, I was already at the Vancouver airport and met Murat. On the way to the hotel, we talked and laughed with our way. You know, that warm feeling when you meet your people far from home. Literally a couple of hours after the meeting, an unexpected offer was received. I told Arsen that I had been very worn out and tired during this time. Could you go to Saskatchewan and meet with our supplier there and find out what the problem is? At that moment, for some reason, I answered without hesitation. Of course, no problem. I immediately called Janibek. It was an ordinary day. Arsen called and said, "Do you have plans for tomorrow?" I replied with no. He offers to go to Saskatchewan during the coronavirus pandemic. But we don't abandon our people. As a result, the next day we flew to the other side of the country to meet with the farmer. He made an appointment in the steppe, by the road. We drove up and waited for the Canadian farmer to appear. Then an SUV pulled up, a window went down, and an elderly man said to me, "Hey, come here." With characteristic Kazakh openness, I jumped out of the car. While I was approaching his jeep, I became speechless. A rifle lay on his feet. I am sitting in the car and I see that Arsen stops, and he raises his arms and shows his jacket. I show that I am clean, explain who I am, and I am here for peace talk. He calmed down and explained that we look like gangsters and he doesn't trust anyone. Well, probably nerves. We talked a bit, solved some issues, agreed, and we drove away. Murat arrived the next day, and one of the craziest stories of my life began. At that time, I was very scared. No matter how pathetic it sounds, it warmed my heart that we were doing this for our country, far from home.
At the beginning, we thought it would take 2 weeks, but it was already the 4th week.
Despite the fact that we did everything legally, we were discouraged by Canadian companies and farmers. There were times when sellers canceled deals at the time of loading. Representatives from corporations called to farmers and transport companies to forbade them to work with us. We decided to fly to Montreal, a new province, new city, and again, no contacts. Upon arrival in Montreal, I remembered our friend Oscar, who was preparing to defense of the thesis his PhD. In general, it was an unexpected call from Janibek. He said, "I'm with friends in Montreal. Come to talk with us." It was so nice for me to hear our people and know that someone is here. I immediately went to them. Oscar's appearance was unexpected and very helpful. He immediately delved into the problem. We bought seeds from different places in small lots. At first, we proved legality to the Canadians, but they did not agree and were refusing in every possible way to cooperate. The time difference, a pandemic, a bunch of troubles, interference from agri-corporations. And by hook or by crook, we finally bought those cherished seeds. Brought to the warehouse, packed, loaded into containers, and loaded onto a ship. And Canadian Customs Service removes our containers from the ship and seizes them for additional inspection. It was like a bolt from the blue.
The seizure of the cargo meant that we were not in time for the sowing campaign.
We had to send out official letters to everyone, to the United Nations, to the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Kazakhstan, and even to the Prime Minister of Canada, Justin Trudeau.
At this moment, the UN and Food and Agriculture Organization came to the rescue. They gave advices and helped us to resolve the issue with the customs services.
Canadian custom officers are very law-abiding, had examined the cargo for a few days, and they actually released it and loaded into the next ship. Time is 5 a.m. Moving around the city is forbidden due to pandemic. 4 Kazakhs on the way to the park on the seafront. Pouring rain, cold, and we're waiting for the ship to leave the port of Montreal. And here's that moment. We see that the ship with the cherished seeds is unmoored and sails away. Our joy knew no bounds at all.
Казахстанская земля! Встречай лучшую генетику!
Dear Granddad, you haven't been with us for 120 years, but I believe that you're looking at me through the skies and reading my letter. I've decided to continue your path, and together with my friends, I brought these seeds. So badly needed for the launching of our project, we have successfully sowed it for reproduction. And in 2 years, these seeds will be enough for 5 million hectares, and in 3 years, for the whole Kazakhstan. You know, the most interesting thing about the seeds is that in addition to quality and higher productivity, their efficiency does not decrease during reproduction. The scientists are smart, right? Reading the books of the great Abai, I understood that your generation placed a priority on honesty and decency, and we also didn't break any law on our way. Grandpa, I have gathered such a strong team, the best guys I could find with a passion to do this. Each of them is individual, and they are all brave, smart, and generative. They follow me because they want to follow themselves. Now we have finished the strategy, and we put all of our knowledges, experience, and strength into it. Actually, there was a horrible pandemic. Most of us worked while being sick, but we believed in our mission and we never stopped. And now we're ready to present our project, the largest private agricultural company in the world. With love, your grandson. With the main mission, we highlight the real benefits that we will bring to 4 main parties involved in this project. To the people of Kazakhstan, to the government of Kazakhstan, to the world institutional investors, to all countries importing grains. For the people of Kazakhstan, we offer the solution of the land issue. We want to divide the lands into 1,000 parts and give it out to citizens of the Republic of Kazakhstan, aged 21-35. And each of them will have a guaranteed income of $1 million per year. We will purchase new equipment for $3 billion and will divide it among 200 citizens of Kazakhstan. 1,200 effective managers will create more than 30,000 jobs with employee salaries starting from $700 per month. In 100 villages, we will build 100 new hospitals, 100 new schools, and 100 kindergartens. For the government, we propose a reboot and accelerated development of the agro-industrial complex system without subsiding. And we believe that this model will lead Kazakhstan out of the economic crisis. We have prepared an extremely profitable offer for investors. We have taken into account and modeled all kinds of risks, and also worked out tools on how to minimize and even eradicate them. Moreover, I would like to note that this project solves 16 of the 17 UN Sustainable Development Goals. For important countries, we have invented a food security system that works like a Swiss bank and effectively addresses the UN's most important goal of ending world hunger. Chapter 1. Land. We will divide 5 million hectares of land among the people. Our fund will manage 5 million hectares of land. To give you an idea of the scale, this is approximately 1.5 Switzerland, 2 Israel, or 5 Qatar. The main question is, where will we find so much land? Due to overloans and low yields, many of our agricultural holdings went bankrupt and did not pay off loans. In case of hopelessness and bad loans, all these assets of agricultural holdings in the form of land are sent to a specific basket called FPL, Fund of Problem Loans. It is a government agency under the Ministry of Finance, and there are already about 1 million hectares of land there. And during the year, due to the coronavirus crisis and low yields, another 4 million hectares of land will be supplied. But the main problem of these agricultural holdings is their huge uncontrollable size. 200,000 hectares, 500,000 hectares, million hectares. To create our system, our team has traveled half the world and studied the world's best practices and technologies from the European Union, the United States of America, Canada, and Argentina. And we came to one surprising conclusion: that land of up to 10,000 hectares is effectively managed. More is the way to bankruptcy. Accordingly, the question is, how to create the largest agricultural company in the world with 5 million hectares of land, if only 10,000 are effectively managed? We found the answer to this question in franchising technology. Companies such as KFC, McDonald's, Starbucks effectively manage 100,000 locations, but do not own any of them. And we also want to own the system, but not own land. And the land will be owned by 1,000 effective managers, 5,000 hectares of land each. They must be citizens of Kazakhstan between the ages of 21 and 35. And the equipment will be owned by 200 effective MTS managers. But more on that later. Our effective managers shouldn't take land for free. And what will we do for this? We will sum up the entire debt from 5 million hectares of land, get a certain discount, and divide this debt into 1,000 parts. This debt will turn into the price of land. You buy this land in installments from 3 to 7 years. The government will sign an agreement with our effective manager, according to which he must pay off within 5 years and subsequently become a full-fledged owner. Probably a question arises in everyone's head. Effective manager has not yet begun to work, and will someone else's debt be hanged on him? The answer is no. For him, this is not a debt, but the value of the land. You buy land in installments from 3 to 7 years. If you work conscientiously, the model we have developed will allow you to buy land within 5 years on average and make good money on it. Another question: what if effective manager fails? If you fail, then you will be replaced by another effective manager without consequences for you. Chapter 2. Seeds.
We will give everyone the best seeds in the world.
The advantage of Canadian seeds is that it is a high-quality selection that is protected from diseases, withstands strong gusts of wind, are drought-resistant, and they give a very high yield, a 35-50 centners per hectare. Today, the average wheat yield in Kazakhstan is 10-12 centners per hectare. To supply 5 million hectares of land, we will need a special plant for cleaning, drying and storing seeds in the amount of 1,200,000 tons. The seed bank will contain crops such as wheat, barley, soybeans, flax, rapeseed, corn, alfalfa, lentils, mustard, and chickpeas. Most importantly, every effective manager will receive high-quality allied seeds every year. How will it work? From 1,000 effective managers, 40 of them will be reproducers. They will be engaged in seed multiplication under a special program, preservation of the clarity of crops. Consequently, 960 farmers each year will receive new high-yielding seeds that will give them the best results. Surely you thought it is GMO. No, this is not GMO. This is a high-quality selection that was developed in Canada.
This breeding variety without any GMO, which means they're not genetically modified. This is also very important for us as well, because GMOs are prohibited in Kazakhstan.
Why Canada? After all, the two countries are located in different parts of the world, and the climate should be different. NASA satellite data confirms the similarity of climatic conditions in two regions, northern Kazakhstan and Canadian Saskatchewan. In terms of precipitation, temperature, and air humidity, the similarity is identical and amounts to 97%.
Similar climatic conditions. Saskatchewan's a little wetter, but in general there's similar climate, there's similar soils in Kazakhstan, and the principles can apply. So soils form due to a range of factors, but those factors are consistent.
Chapter 3. Education. 3 years ago, when I was working abroad, Marat called me and said, "There is a big project we need you here, at home." I returned to Kazakhstan to build the university of my dreams. The modern agro-industry requires quality knowledge. In Kazakhstan, there is a catastrophic problem with personnel in the agricultural industry. The implementation of our project is impossible without qualified specialists. To resolve this issue, we need to provide high-quality free education for the citizens of Kazakhstan. How to cover a large number of Kazakhstanis in a short period of time and provide them with a decent education? The answer is simple: online education. How will the learning process go? More than 5 million people aged 21 to 35 live in Kazakhstan. They have a chance to become an effective manager of our fund. Among them, 1,200 best applicants will be selected by the method of fair selection. Further, an effective manager personally recruits his team, which can include any citizen of Kazakhstan, anywhere in the world, who has undergone free online training. Everyone, through their smartphone or laptop, after listening of lectures, goes to take tests at the examination center, where their identity is identified and checked for cheat sheets. In case of successful passing of the exams, he immediately receives a basic license with instructions for his credit rating and enters the database. Next, getting a practical license. To do this, an effective manager enters the database and builds a team there. After that, he sends a request to the fund for their practical training, where they practice in the fields with professional agronomists and are trained in agricultural machinery simulators, such as John Deere, Class, Case. After a year of study, your team will be formed. Chapter 4. The Knowledge Center.
When we were creating our system, we understood that a year of study was not enough. But we don't have time for more. And then I came up with a knowledge center.
In order to provide a full support for effective managers, a dispatch center is being created, which brought together 40 scientists and practitioners from all over the world with a huge experience, whose task is to advise and support. Working mechanism. Effective manager or his employee calls the knowledge center, where the system with artificial intelligence identifies the client and his land from the satellite system's data, and instantly sees the history of all agricultural operations. For example, a client contacted, explained his problem, and the operator redirects the call to the appropriate department, to the meteorologist, soil scientist, agronomist, or general scientist. What services does the Knowledge Center provide? Advice on plant protection, for fertilization, on agricultural technology, and for each crop individually. From 1,000 weather stations and from all satellites of the world, data is collected for an accurate forecast. When to sow, when to protect, and when to harvest. 50 air scooters use drones to make pinpoint sounding of fields for diseases and pests. 70 mobile laboratories with the latest modern equipment will be involved in soil and leaf analysis. All data will be instantly transmitted to the Knowledge Center for making prompt and accurate decisions. All work will be carried out in a special system, SAP and Syngenta Cropio. Chapter 5: Communication, Internet, and Innovations. I'm a biker, and when I travel, I don't like the fact that there is no internet in the villages. As we all know, the era of the internet and new technologies has come. In order to provide 100% coverage on 5 million hectares of land, 50 base stations with 4G technology need to be installed. Implementation of the Cropio system from Syngenta will greatly simplify the farmer's work. Here are some of the technologies that will be available to us. Digitization of fields. On the map you can see the soil supply with fertilizers and the territory of the farm of an effective manager. Access to high-resolution NDVI satellite images that are the types and frequency of crops planted, tracking crop growth, and accurate satellite data on pre-harvest yields, affected areas, and crop oppression. GPS monitoring of equipment, fuel consumption, recording of working hours, speed of sowing, and depth of sowing. Innovative weather stations that monitor and predict plant diseases, moisture, wind gusts, and a favorable condition for pests. Reconnaissance and obtaining accurate data from drones that fly around fields, calculating problematic areas with maximum accuracy by using an 8K resolution camera. Walking scouting is essentially a normal field walk. Often, due to laziness, employees do not take a detour and write fake reports. Because of such negligence, you can lose the entire crop. However, with the usage of new technologies, everything will change. For example, after studying satellite images and followed flying around drones, the data is transmitted to a specialist in the Knowledge Center, and they can remotely mark the trajectory of the field by GPS. To ensure the accuracy of the specified operation, photo and video reports will be geolocated, and if the employee was not at the specified point on the map, the Knowledge Center will not accept their report. Chapter 6: AgroTechnics.
I've set myself an objective to use every machinery in MTS to its maximum efficiency.
As we all know, usually farmers own both land and machinery, but we decided to take a different way. Create a new cluster of 200 effective machine tractor stations managers. They will specialize in agricultural machinery. A similar experience has been successfully applied in Argentina. According to UN FAO experts, this system is the most organized and most effective, since both the farmer and the MTS are in the focus of their tasks. As for the technology, it is not tied to a specific farmer. so it is interchangeable and can be effectively used by other farmers. In the event of a breakdown or malfunction of the equipment, the other nearest MTS will be ready to replace it. When choosing agricultural machinery for MTS, we decided to give preference to the world's leading manufacturers such as John Deere, Claas, Case, New Holland, Buehler. There are going to be 2,400 seeding complexes, 3,400 tractors, 4,200 combines, 6,000 trucks and much more. How will it work? An effective MTS manager is recruiting staff. Each of them will study at an online university and receive a basic and practical license. Without licenses, they will not be allowed to work. Further, the effective manager of MTS goes to the bank and receives a lease for all equipment without any down payment. 5 farmers are tied to the MTS, from whom he receives applications for carrying out certain works. All these orders are regulated in the SAP system, and the effectiveness of MTS is monitored by the Knowledge Center. 100% of the equipment and hangars are owned by the effective MTS managers. In next episode, we will reveal the system. How, without initial capital, you can easily make up to $1 million per year.
I realized it's a big idea.
How in the modern world we will return a historical fair trial of beef.
We just want honesty and justice.
What amazing harvest Canadian seeds have given on our land. We have never had this kind of result.
This plant surprised us very much due to its growing results.
Very good seedlings. During pandemic, crisis, and injustice, with faith in a creator and a bright future.